We are the New York Knicks. 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 Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Well, just like that, look who's back in the mix. Straight out of New York City, it's the Red Hot Knicks. And nothing's gonna stop us from hanging a banner. Not the Hawks, Heat, or even Indiana. It's the Knicks, back on pace, back in the chase. That's right, the 8th seed in the thick of the race. And while you try and react to the shots we be blocking, check out the team that keeps the Garden rocking. Spree, hitting threes, playing D. Houston launching jumps from the top of the key. And Ward, you and Child and Larry. Thomas, Big Chris, and Marcus can be. Nobody does it like the Knicks can. Go get your best 5 guys. In fact, grab a 6-man. The Spreewell and the Knicks excel. Look out, the number 18 starting to gel. Go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. Say go New York, go New York, go. Go New York, go New York, go. You want depth, hold up with 2 deep. And Indiana, they're gonna end up with the Hawks and the Heat. While the Knicks sweep them with
the baby. Oh, baby. I'm speechless, just like I was those first 2 games of this series. The Knicks are 1 win away from advancing to their first Eastern Conference Finals in a quarter century, 25 years, 1 win away. What an all-around game for all of the Knicks stars, even the supporting cast. Deuce's defense, and the fact that Tom Thibodeau trusted him through the majority of that fourth quarter when Josh Hart picked up that 5th foul. Everyone played well. From the top to the bottom, every single player on this Knicks team performed when it mattered the most in the biggest game that the Knicks have played in the Garden in, I could say 25 years, 31 years. The biggest Knicks game in the Garden since then, since the 94 NBA Finals. The Knicks did it. They won this game. Listen, Jason Tatum, what a game from him. You hate to see it. 42 points, 8 rebounds. I mean, let's be honest, he was the only reason the Celtics were in the game. Some of the shots that he was hitting, unbelievable. And you just hate to see what happened at the end of that game. It looks to be an Achilles. Listen, I mean, you want to win fair and square. I'm not sitting here and telling you I'm so upset over Tatum's injury. But as a fan of the NBA game, as a fan of pure basketball, what Jason Tatum did tonight, it makes it that much more hurtful to an NBA fan like myself, or a Celtics fan, obviously, that he ended up getting hurt like he did at the end of the game. But, I mean, prayers out to him. It looks to be an Achilles. Hopefully it's not, but I'm going to focus on the Knicks here. That's all I know. I'm talking about the Knicks. Tatum got injured. They were down 9. All right, I don't want to hear that the Knicks won purely off of the fact that Jason Tatum tore his Achilles. I don't want to hear that. That narrative should not be going out there. The reason why the Knicks won this game is because they scored 70 points in the second half. 70 points. They outscored the Celtics by 19 points in that second. That's why they won the game. They won the game because of unbelievable shot making from Jalen Brunson down the stretch of that game. Something that we've grown so accustomed to seeing over the course of his Knicks tenure. He always performs when it matters the most. Someone who deserves an equal amount of credit was what Mikal Bridges did in that fourth quarter. You knew Jalen Brunson was going to start the fourth quarter on the bench to give him some rest for the long stretch, the 8-9 minutes that he'd come back in, have to play his hardest, and have to potentially will the Knicks to victory. What Mikal Bridges did in that 4 to 5 minutes of Jalen Brunson was out, it can't go overlooked. It absolutely can't. It's almost just as important as what Jalen Brunson did throughout the course of that second half. Mikal Bridges looked as confident as he has ever looked. I mean, there were a few games scattered throughout the season. This is the most confident he's looked against a championship-level foe the entire season. I know he put up 40 at the Garden on Christmas Day against the Spurs. That was the Spurs. All right? This was the best Mikal Bridges has looked against one of the best teams in the league. I don't think it's close. He was unbelievable down the stretch of this game. He still couldn't hit a 3 to save his life, but he makes up for it and then some with his shot-making ability within the three-point arc. How unbelievable was he offensively down the stretch of that game? I mean, I could sit here and, I could tell you who played well and why the Knicks won that game. I don't think that takes away from, how I really feel about this. Like, I'm going to look past the objective analysis of what happened in the game. This is the closest the one team that I care the most about has been to actually doing anything in my entire lifetime. So I'm trying to stay grounded. I'm trying to not to take this for granted, just like I didn't take for granted those first 2 games of the series. I'm also acknowledging this series isn't over. There's more work for the Knicks to do. The Celtics are still a really good team without Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum played 2 unbelievably bad games to start the series. The Celtics barely lost both of those games. They should have won both of them, even with how poorly Tatum played. This Celtics team has proven capable that they can perform well without one of their star players. I understand Tatum had one of the best games of his career tonight. You don't think that the Celtics are going to come back to their home court and win that for Tatum? So the series is far from over. The Knicks are obviously in the best spot they've been in to advance to a conference finals in a very long time. People want to point to last year, and I put it out there, and I've said it repeatedly here. I said it before the game, and now I'm obviously saying it after the game, that the Knicks won the biggest game at the Garden in 31 years. You could point to Game 7 or, Game 5 of the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Pacers last year. We all knew in our right minds the Knicks stood no chance against the Celtics with all the injuries that they faced. This Knicks team, knock on wood, hopefully we'll find out what happened to OG Anunoby's hamstring. Let's hope that wasn't a big deal. He ended up coming back into the game. I don't think he was the same defensively. That might be largely due to what Jason Tatum was able to do off the dribble in terms of his shot making. I mean, that was unbelievable. But I do think that OG Anunoby lost a step defensively after whatever happened with his hamstring. We'll keep an eye on that. Hopefully he returns healthy. The Knicks are going to need him at full strength going into a potential series with whoever wins the series between the Pacers and the Cavs. Looks like it's going to be the Pacers. That series isn't over either. The Cavs were the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference for a reason throughout the regular season. They're one of the most talented teams in the NBA. I'm not counting them out, just like I'm not counting the Celtics out of this series. So obviously a lot of stuff to still be determined in the rest of these playoffs. But the one thing I will admit, the one thing that's objectively true about all this, the Knicks are in the best position they've been in 25 years. Objectively true. They're one win away from advancing to their first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 freaking years. I wasn't alive. I was not alive. It was a year before I was born. I thought I'd never see this, to be honest. The years of Lou Amundsen, Kevin Serafin, Alexei Shved, Bargnani, Jose Calderon, all those bums that we had to go through to get to this point. Would you want anyone else in the NBA to have the ball over the course of the last 2 minutes to Jalen Brunson? I wouldn't. I mean, how many times has he met the occasion in the playoffs? Time and time and time again. Death taxes Jalen Brunson performing when it matters the most. Tom Thibodeau said it a few weeks back when asked about his clutch performances down the stretch of that Pistons series. And he said, when his best is needed, Jalen Brunson gives his best. And that is who he is. That is Jalen Brunson to a T. He performs best when his best is needed. His shot-making ability down the stretch of games, the way he's able to dissect the defense, the way he's able to create, off pivots, off pump fakes. He's one of the most fundamental players we have ever seen in the history of this league. Seriously. We should call him he should be Mr. Fundamental 2.0. Captain Clutch and Fundamental 2.0. Tim Duncan dupe. He's like if Tim Duncan was like he's dead, like resurrected. If they cloned Tim Duncan, made him 10 inches shorter, and made him lefty. It's the same thing. But no, in all seriousness, his shot-making ability is second to none in this league, especially down the stretch of games. What more can you say about Jalen Brunson? What more can you say about Mikal Bridges, who, again, showed up when it mattered the most down the stretch of this game? Jalen Brunson checks out. He needs to get that rest at the top of the fourth quarter every time. The Knicks really need it. They'll play him through the fourth quarter. He needed that rest to come back in and to have the extra juice to go the rest of the distance. So he comes out. Mikal Bridges keeps them in that game, keeps them up in the game. They go up with Brunson off the floor. Mikal, some of those shots that he was hitting, he hit one over Porzingis. I mean, what more can you say about Mikal Bridges as well? He deserves all of his flowers. My sister says bing bong. We should retire that. It's so 2021. Jeff says, shame about Tatum. Yeah, I hate to see that happen to any player, especially after scoring 40. It was his best game of the year. Like, the stakes, the biggest game of the season for the Celtics, he couldn't miss. He could not miss. And it absolutely sucks to see what happened to Jason Tatum happen. And it looks to be Achilles, based on his reaction, based on how he was wheeled off the court and wheeled into the locker room, and you saw it on his face. You really hate to see it. You really do. As much as I hate the Celtics, as much as I hate Tatum, no one ever wants that. No one ever wants that. If you say you're happy about Tatum's injury, you're a fake fan. And it's terrible karma. Seriously. Jason Tatum played some of the best basketball that you will ever see at the Garden tonight. Could not miss. Could not miss. The shot making was off the charts. Off the charts. So prayers, go out to him, and hopefully it's not Achilles. It looks like it. But, this obviously has a lot of ramifications on the Eastern Conference, not just right now, but going into next year. And we already knew the Celtics had to make drastic changes, considering they're going to have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars in the luxury tax if they continue to have as much money on the books they do right now. So it appeared the Celtics would have to make some moves. Looks like maybe Porzingis, maybe Jrue Holiday, getting rid of one or two of those guys. I mean, the Celtics are already going to be thin as is, with Tatum potentially out for that next year. Listen, I mean, do I hate to see the Celtics in a bad spot? Cap-wise, no. But do you hate to see this type of injury happen to one of the game's best talent, the top 10 player in the league? Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. Really bad. And again, prayers out to him. You hate to see it. And, hopefully he's okay. I don't know, though. But, yeah, I mean, as I keep harping on here, this is the biggest Knicks win at the Garden in 31 years. 31 years. I really don't think any game in 1999 or 2000 comes close, considering the fact that, the Knicks had the Spurs waiting for them in the finals. They were never going to get past the Spurs. 2000, they were never going to beat the Lakers. They lost in 6 games to the Pacers. They were never beating the Lakers that year. Those Knicks teams paled in comparison to the amount of talent these Knicks teams have. This can largely be credited to, and my dad makes a good point here. As I mentioned, Bridges is amazing tonight on both ends of the floor. This win, I mentioned that. Earlier today, 1994, the OJ game. June 17th, 1994. Game 5 of the NBA Finals. The Knicks won that game. They went up 3-2. They were on the brink of a championship. The brink of the championship. I think that this is the biggest Knicks win at the Garden since that game. That should tell you the entire story. I'm not going to sit here and jinx it or say anything else about it. But the way the chips are falling right now, again, you hate to see it. The Pacers got extremely lucky last year, and they were able to advance the Eastern Conference Finals off of a bunch of Knicks injuries. The Cavs suffer a bunch of injuries. They go down in the series. Now they're down 3-1. The Pacers, listen, they're a team not to be taken lightly. I'm not getting to that point. The Pacers still need to close out their series. The Knicks need to still close out theirs as well. We are extremely far away from anything being concrete and absolute. But something is concrete and absolute, and that's the fact that the Knicks just won that game. Everyone said it. Whoever wins this game is probably going to win the series. The Knicks went out, and they freaking did it. They won the game. They won the game. Tatum injury aside, which they were up 9 points at the time, they won the freaking game. They performed, when it mattered the most, and something we've seen time and time again throughout the course of this series in close games. And I can't believe him doing this. He's, this will never get back to him, but credit to Frank Isola, because this guy doesn't shut up about Tom Thibodeau and the minutes police. It's the one hill he'll die on the most, and he has not shut up about it the entire year. Well, turns out he was right. And as much shit as people gave him this entire year, and as incessant as he was, constantly trying to prove that he was right, he's right. These Tom Thibodeau coach teams are able to go to a different gear, a different level at the end of games because they are so well conditioned. And of course, when playing those guys as much as he does, and I'm okay with them playing as much, but I draw the line at when Tom Thibodeau leaves guys in when the game is out of reach. That's my biggest deal with him. You know, I don't care if they play 42 minutes in a game you have to win. I don't care if they play 45 minutes in a game that was close the entire fine. The one bone I have to pick with Tom Thibodeau, and something that is, you know, you can't even argue against it, is when he leaves guys in, when it's, you know, the deficit is too much to overcome or they're up too much. But either way, you run the risk of guys potentially getting hurt during the regular season. Well, it turns out, if you look at the stats, the Knicks might have been the most healthy team, knock on wood, the playoffs, anything could happen. The Knicks might have been the most healthy team throughout the course of the regular season. Amidst all of the BS surrounding Tom Thibodeau and how he injures his players and yada, 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 the Knicks might have been the most healthy team this season. Seriously. And now they're in this spot, largely due to the fact because they played so much throughout the regular season. Jason Tatum looked gas at the end of that game before his injury. Maybe that contributed to it. I'm not speculating whatsoever, but he looked dead tired at the end of that game. His shot making was off. He was obviously not able to create as much separation. He was short or long on a bunch of those shots. No one else picked up the slack. Jaylen Brown has not been good this series whatsoever. His three-point shot has not been there. Derek White has been the unsung hero for this team. What he did in that first half, he's so freaking good. And there's a reason why amongst all those legends on Team USA in the Olympics, Derek White played. And that says a lot about who he is. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah, of course I go to game 3 of that series. I don't think I'll ever get over that. I really don't. The amount of money that I paid to go to game 3 and game 4 is as good as it was. I will never, ever forget that. And it sucks. But maybe that's what they needed. Everything happens for a reason, guys. Maybe if I was at game 4, they would have gotten blown out in both games. You never know. You never know. But what I do know is the Knicks are one game away from advancing to the conference finals for the first time in 20 years since the 2000 season. And again, like I said before, I try not to take these moments for granted. Anything can happen going forward. The series is far from over. But being able to enjoy a win like tonight after all of the shit that we've gone through as Knicks fans over the course of the last, 20 years is a really awesome feeling. It is. And again, for the team that I root for the hardest out of all 3 of my teams, this feels extra sweet. It really does. I gave the Knicks no chance to win the series. I gave them no chance to win game 1. I gave them no chance to win game 2. The one game I gave them a chance to win, game 3, they got blown out. Game 4, I wasn't confident. I wasn't saying before the game they had zero chance. I didn't think they had a high likelihood of winning that game, but they did. They won it fair and square. The Knicks went toe-to-toe with the Celtics, especially how well the Celtics were shooting from 3 in that first half. They stayed close. They kept chipping away. Joe Mazzulla kept calling timeouts. After every little run, the Knicks came back out of those timeouts, applied the momentum, put their foot on the gas pedal, and drove away with this game. They drove away with the game. And, I put out a lot of stuff about being upset still about the Randall DiVincenzo trade. They won the game. I'm not going to sit here and harp on that, but I'll die on that hill. Karl Towns, very efficient game. Defensively, just leaves a lot to be desired. The physicality is not there, whatever. I digress. I'm not trying to talk about that. I'm glad I only did 20 seconds right there on that. If you want to look for my tweet, go ahead, enjoy, retweet it. I'll fight you all day on it. But I don't care about that. I don't care. Because the Knicks are one game away from advancing to the first conference final. I'm going to keep saying. I'm going to keep repeating myself until it really hits home with me and with you. One game away from the first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years. And to be honest, guys, this is what we've deserved for the longest period of time. Sorry, I'm opening up my computer, the other computer, my work computer, because I have work in 5 minutes. And look what happens here. But we're going to screw it. We're live. And I don't really care that my light just got screwed up, but I will fix it. Again, this is something that you can't take for granted because it doesn't happen too often. Over the course of our lives, over the course of my life, not my grandpa, maybe not my dad, the course of my life, this has not happened. It doesn't happen. Things do not bounce the Knicks' way. Even when you think things are going as well as possible. 14-2 in that month of January last year, Julius Randle gets hurt. You know, Jalen Brunson near the end of the year against the Lakers rolls his ankle. Could be a high ankle sprain, could be out for the year. Obviously, it wasn't a high ankle sprain. He ends up playing, and we end up beating the Pistons. Things have gone the next way this year in the playoffs. And again, the series is not over. The series is far from over. The Celtics are still an extremely talented team. And the Knicks are prone to putting up absolute duds. So the series is not over. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's game, set, match. It's not. But what I am telling you is, one, to not take this for granted, to let it sink in. And number two, to realize that the Knicks are only one game away from doing something they haven't done in 25 freaking years. Let it sink in. I'm currently doing that for my little shift here from 11 to 12. But man, I really did not give the Knicks the respect to think they were going to win this series. And I'm sure a bunch of other people, had hope as a fan, but I don't think anyone in their right minds could have objectively said that they believed the Knicks would win this series. Maybe you thought that they'd keep it close. Maybe you thought it would go to 7. Maybe you thought it would go to 6. I had Celtics in 5. I saw what I needed to see in the regular season. And I don't think that this series should be 3-1 Knicks. I think it should be maybe 3-1 Boston, based off how poorly the Celtics played over the final stretch of games 1 and 2. Gifted the game, both those games, to the Knicks. And credit to the Knicks. They went up and they took it. The Knicks of the years past might have lost those 2 games, but they didn't. So credit to them. I'm not taking the credit away. I'm just saying Boston played themselves out of the first 2 games of the series. The Knicks were in an extremely favorable spot. And instead of laying down and dying after what happened in game 3, they came out and, listen, they had another extremely putrid start. They sucked again for the 4th straight time to start the game. Terrible. But they never let it get away from them. That's the one thing that I look back on this game, and I'll tell you that's the reason why they won. The Celtics are able to go on these unbelievable runs, go up double digits easily. They go on 10-0 runs in 1 minute, and we saw that. We've seen that over the course of the series. The Knicks went down as many as 14 this game. It never got more than that. The Knicks kept chipping away. Joe Mazzulla kept calling these timeouts to kill the momentum. The Knicks came right back out, still applied the pressure, and still carried that momentum until the next timeout. And then the next timeout. That was the script, the game script to the second half of this game. It's the reason why the Knicks won, along with 2 amazing performances down the stretch from Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges. The only reason the Knicks were close in that game is because of 2 things. One of them is the fact that Jalen Brunson had his best quarter of the playoffs in the 3rd quarter and was also really good in the 4th. And Mikal Bridges kept them, continued that lead for them in the 4th quarter. And it's something that I'm going to keep harping on. I think that it's just the smartest move to make is that Mitch Robinson needs to start every game. Like, he's got to start for Josh Hart. I know the Knicks just won the game. And I know you don't want to hear, I'm not necessarily being a Debbie Downer. I'm just being a little bit realistic about the situation. He needs to start. Mitch Robinson needs to start. If you watch this game, you could tell he's one of the biggest factors on the court. There's a reason why Joe Mazzulla will put his team, in foul trouble potentially, put the Knicks in the bonus just to get him out of the game. Because he's so dominant on the boards. And him as an interior presence, with Cat, without Cat, with OG at the 4, with Hart at the 4, he is a massive presence on the defensive end. And he's able to get out 3-point shooters better than most 7-foot big men in the league. He's a unicorn defensively. What's up, Jack? Why not us? Let's go, bro. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm pumped. I know you probably can't tell it. I'm trying to, again, bring myself back down to earth. I'm not going to sit here and celebrate, tell you that it's over, and tell you the Knicks are advancing to the conference finals. I'll talk to that when and if it happens. All right? Final score tonight, 121 to 113. That's all I'm focused on. The Knicks won the game. They won it by 8. And now I know the series is 3-1 Knicks. That's all I'm focusing on. And obviously, the disastrous potentially injury to Jason Tatum. Again, I mentioned it a multitude of times. Just joining now, I'm Bryce Gelman. I do a lot of Knicks stuff, whatever. Shameless plug. But I said it earlier, it's awful to see what happened to Jason Tatum after one of the best games I've ever seen. In a spot like that in the playoffs, he was unstoppable, could not miss. And if he's out for the entire year next year, it's terrible. It's really awful. As much as I hate the Celtics, as much as I hate Jason Tatum, you don't want to see that. I wish the Knicks could have won. It's not over yet, but I wish the Knicks could have won fair and square in this game, or in the series. They won fair and square in the game. You'll hear from Celtics fans using that as an excuse. But, things within 3 hours have completely changed. Like the entire dynamic of the postseason, the entire dynamic of the championship odds have changed in the last 3 hours. The books still had the Celtics as a massive favorite. Massive. Minus 1,000 they were going into the series. Minus 1,000. I can only imagine what it is right now. And even before this game, the Celtics were minus 300. I'm not a betting man. I'm pretty good with odds. Pretty sure the Knicks are probably minus 200, minus 300 at this point with Tatum's injury. Again, it sucks to see what happened with Tatum. You'll take it. You'll take it. But I have work. I got to run. You know what, Gabe? It's been too long. I got to have you on. Well, we got a Subway Series coming up this weekend. So shoot me a text. I'll have you on. What a game. We only can see Brunson is the king of New York. Lindor close. Let's go next. Yeah, I'm not falling for the rage bait tonight. Not doing that. All right, guys. Pleasure as always. They did it. They performed when it mattered the most. The Knicks are now up 3-1 in the series. And, man, again, do not take this for granted. Enjoy it now. Series is far from over, but biggest win at the Garden since 1994. Peace.